So it's working, okay. I don't know why the presentation is not. Okay. Perfect. Hello everyone. Very glad to be here. My name is Thibauld. I'm the co-CEO and co-founder at Fairmint. So Fairmint, what we do is we let founders share their success with their community. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter, on Farcaster, on GitHub. Everything that I'm going to say here, I'm definitely not a lawyer. I'm just an engineer who spent a little bit too much time talking to securities lawyers. So no legal advice, nothing. Also, I'm particularly knowledgeable only in US securities laws. So this is like securities laws are very country specific. So don't try to interpret what I'm going to say in your own jurisdiction. I'm very happy to be back because last time I was at HCC was 4 years ago, so it's been quite some time. Lots of things have changed since then. So I think I'm still as fat, yeah. So that didn't change. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about the road to creating the global on-chain securities market. Because today, as you know, like crypto is about tokens, about utility tokens. That's the easy to issue. It's just like it's the first like low-hanging fruit when we talk about transfer of value. But like most of the assets in the world are actually securities, right? Securities encompass many different things from bonds, derivatives, equity. And today it's a very inefficient market. But first, so if there's a road, there's a destination, right? So what does the destination look like? What do we want to achieve? Like, because today, okay, you can trade on Robinhood, okay, it's pretty good. So what is the vision, at least that at Fairmint we want to achieve? What we want to do is we want companies ultimately to be able to go public on their own website. That's like the goal. The goal is so that you remove all intermediaries. It reduces the cost dramatically for companies to like interact and issue, trade their securities with their community. And everything should happen on their website. So imagine the next Coinbase, the next Airbnb, all the best investors of these companies, they are actually users. They go on Coinbase.com every day. They go to Airbnb.com every day. And so in terms of user experience, it would be tremendous. In terms also for the company, like today when you go public, a company doesn't know its investors, right? Like Charles Schwab knows that you invested maybe in Coinbase, but Coinbase doesn't know. Like you're all anonymous to Coinbase if you hold Coinbase stock. So this is something that I think is very, could bring tons of new use case, tons of value creation. And today it's impossible to do. It's impossible to do for a very simple reason, which is compliance today. So when we deal with securities, like you have to deal with a lot of rules and compliance, like to protect investors. And today, compliance is achieved by intermediation, right? So there's a whole bunch of people and organizations that are in charge of making sure that issuing and trading securities is compliant. So brokers are the one executing your orders, exchanges who are like providing like order books, clearinghouse who make sure that the transfer of money is clearly is done properly, custodian who hold your securities, transfer agents that settle the securities. And so all these people, they are compliant, they are regulated, they have many people working for them, and each one of them is trying to extract as much value as they can in the flow of value. So it's slow. So to give you an example why it's slow, so in the US, like the settlement when you buy a Coinbase share, for example, I have no affiliation with Coinbase, but it's an easy example. The settlement is T+2, meaning it takes 2 days between the moment that you buy your share and the moment that you actually hold your share. So that's T+2. So it's very slow. It's expensive for the reason I just said. And it's also error prone. Like it's not, this is something very often I hear people say, okay, like all these people, they are regulated, so there's no error, it's perfect. No, not at all. Like there's a lot of errors because there's a lot of things that are done in ways that are definitely not programmatic. And yeah, just the example, for example, what I like to take as an example, we had like this prime. There was a custodian in the US that just blew off, right? They were regulated, everything was fine, but turns out that the funds, they were on a key somewhere and they lost half of the funds. So they were regulated, right? So regulated doesn't mean they're good, it just means that there's a stamp of approval from the government. And so what we need to do, we need to achieve compliance by programming, right? And so we need to rewrite the entire security stack by like programming it. And so the tools at our disposal are only smart contracts, wallets, and open protocols. And this is also important because there's a lot of people, especially in the US, when they think about blockchain and bringing securities to blockchain, the only thing they look at is, oh, okay, that could be a little bit more efficient. So they don't see like how it could change the industry. They just say, okay, like now use T+2, the settlement, we could make it more efficient and go to T, like T+1 or even instant. But I think the real achievement would be to really have an open, not a collection of walled gardens where everybody has reproduced what happens in TradFi, but only by changing the base layer, but actually by having a global investor network that is completely interoperable, where people can like trade on each website. So the goal here is like to make this system fast, right, with a smart contract, cheap and reliable. So where to start? And this is where there's been a lot of mistake in the industry, because most of the people in the industry started by going after a license. They said, okay, like we are going to trade securities, we are going to issue securities. First thing first, we need to get regulated. But the problem is that it led to complete catastrophe, because if you are getting regulated from day zero, like getting regulated doesn't build a business. It doesn't mean you solve any problem. Like if you're getting regulated, it's going to take a long time, and I can tell you by experience, because we actually looked at it at some point. And when you're regulated, that means that the moment you want to change your product, you have like a 50, 60-year-old guy who every time you want to change your product is poking you on the shoulder saying, can you explain to me why like this change in your product complies with like this law? And so basically once you're regulated, it becomes very, very hard to iterate and to find product market fit. So what we say in tech, like the fallacy that is build it and they will come, in the securities law, it's like secure a license and they will come. Never happened. It did not happen. Like every company who tried to do that, like for example, so I don't want to name them, but this is a company that secured $100 million in funding a long time ago. They are regulated. They have all the licenses, and they have like, so I could not put the fifth one, but they have 5 tokens, and there's zero volume, nothing. So that means that they don't have a product. They have a license, but they don't have a problem. They don't have a product. So the only approach, as we're rewriting the entire security stack, the only approach is a bottom-up approach, because you cannot say I'm gonna rewrite everything from scratch and it's gonna work. Like the only way to rebuild this system from scratch in a way that is more open, more inclusive, that will enable companies to go public on their own website is bottom-up. And so this is why at Fairmint, like this is Fairmint's approach. So everybody does its own like its own thing. But the problem they wanted to solve at Fairmint was to make community ownership easy. Today, there's a lot of founders that wants to share, like to give skin in the game to their community, and it's very hard to do for many reasons that I will not explain in this presentation. And so what we focused on is first like build a delightful product for real customers. So that means that if you're using Fairmint because you want to be able to issue equity passively, basically. You put an invest now button on your website, and anybody who comes across your product or service is able to click on that invest now button, and in a fully compliant way, using the Fairmint stack, the investor is going to be able to invest in your company without the CFO or the CEO even have to answer a phone call. So it's like passive fundraising. It works pretty well. So the interface, obviously, so we enable you to grant equity, to receive fundraising. There's a live cap table module, and all of this still with the vision that it happens on your website, right? So this is why the invest now button, you put it wherever you want on your website. You don't have to market it. Basically, every time you communicate, every time you do any sort of marketing, you expose the fact that people can invest in your company to your community, and without middlemen. So if you use Fairmint, we automated everything, so there's no lawyer needed unless you want to bring your own legal. There's no SPV. There's no. You don't need to have a cap table management tool, and customers love it, right? So that you can see it. Like, it's very easy. Like the holy shit moment always arrive at the same time, is when our customers receive a 10,000 plus investment, and if possible from somebody that didn't pitch, and overnight. And this is the moment where we receive this type of messages. This is what I call passive fundraising. And so now, what's the stage that we are right now? Now we are going to push to really put as much equity on chain as possible, because putting as much equity on chain as possible will also put as much investors on chain as possible. And now becomes the critical part, where instead of recreating a walled garden, now we're starting to collaborate. So basically, Fairmint in the background, all the set of smart contracts, everything was being thought for being opened up and used by other people. And now we're working on, as we grow, we're working on standardizing, so on-chain compliance, the on-chain capital representation, and the KYC data sharing. So all the things that will enable other companies, other partners to plug in into the network and be able to leverage our network of investors. And we don't do that alone. We're very fortunate to have found other people who believe in the same vision as us, namely a company called Poet Network. And so we're working already at several partners to standardize this. So if here, you have also a company or you're a founder in the field and you're working on securities, please reach out to us, because this is still not announced, but we already have a working group, and we're making great progress into standardizing everything that I'm showing here. So we think this is very important. And funny enough, securities, the field of securities on chain is sometimes I characterize it like this: is that a lot of people in crypto are very young, and so they're kind of afraid, or they don't want to talk to lawyers, and so they don't come up with solutions for securities. And most of the people who went after creating solutions for securities are quite old. And so the only thing they want to do is they want to recreate what exists today, and but put it on chain. And I think there's the potential for the on-chain securities market is much bigger than this, and we need to rethink how it works, but in a pure DeFi way, right? So by DeFi, I mean open way. We're not here to recreate closed garden. We're here to open up and share, create standards so that securities trading and securities issuance can be standards that are used by everybody. I think I'm way over, so I'll take question. I use it all the time, so okay. Thank you. Thank you.